Good morning. Such is the nature of life that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. You are that opportunity, and so am I, and so it is. Welcome, everyone, to CSL Midtown, coming to you this morning from Atlanta, Georgia. We are so glad that you have joined us today. We welcome all people, no matter who you are or where you are in your life. We welcome all those who are listening online, either live now or on a recording. And our center is diversity manifested. So we are very proud of that and happy to welcome everyone. So whatever brought you here today, know that you're in the right place and that this is the right time for you. We know that you are an individual expression of the divine life in which we all live. You're welcome to participate here today and to become part of this community. We hope that those of you who are watching our broadcast on social media will like and share this with your friends. For a better understanding of who we are and what we teach, listen now to the Declaration of Principles as written by our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes.
A few of the Declaration of Principles we live by.
I believe in one God, one absolute power, and first cause to all things.
I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love.
I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience.
I believe in the unity of all life, and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding.
I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all.
And so it is.
So grateful. All right. My name is Judy Ailey, and I'm the moderator and practitioner for today's service. The theme for May has been Raise Your Voice. And today we are going to be talking about peace, which relates in some way to that. We know that what we teach here is that the inner state of being becomes our outer experience. So it makes perfect sense that peace must begin within ourselves. If we are people with a lot of inner conflict, we cannot expect to have a world where peace is all around us. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. That's a song that many of us are familiar with. I have recently been reading a book called Mind Your Body. It's about the mind-body connection. It's by Nicole Sachs. And what this book teaches me is that I must work with and resolve old inner conflicts and emotions to experience peace in my life and in my body. I've come to know that if I have pain or discord in my body or in my life, that there is some way that I am not at peace. This book has instructed me to dive deeply into my shadow self, or the unconscious part of myself that holds conflicts and old experiences of pain, sadness, shame, loneliness, and even anger. She instructs you in this book to let it all out through a daily practice of journaling, and then follow that with meditation. When I started doing this, I didn't think I would uncover that much, since I've been involved in this teaching for decades. But I found that I had a lot of stuff to write about, so much more than I thought I would. She suggests that you see yourself as a 4 or 5-year-old kid throwing a temper tantrum on the floor and write about that. What are you feeling when you do that? What is making you so angry? What are the old experiences from your growing up years that have come back to you in a painful way? And I've come to see that as I have been writing about all this stuff, that I have a deeper sense of inner peace. And I've been doing this for over a month now. I think that we all have stuff in there it may be at a conscious level or an unconscious level that we hold in our bodies even. We're so focused on being positive in this teaching, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't be positive, believe me. But sometimes I think we gloss over things that need to be felt, acknowledged, and released. It's sort of like the denial step in the affirmative prayer or treatment that we learn in this teaching. I have found this practice of journaling and meditation to be very helpful in my quest for inner peace and well-being in my life. So I'd like to lead us now in an affirmative prayer, and it will be followed by music for reflection. So if you would just join with me in this treatment or in this prayer, and I'm going to do this in the first person if you will accept it for yourself. Allow yourself to be comfortable. Allow your focus to be right here on this present moment, right here and right now. And as I do this, I take some nice, slow, deep breaths. And as I do this, I know that I recognize and know that there really is just one. There is this one presence, this one power, this one goodness that is all that there is. Some of us call it God or spirit, universal mind, whatever term you use. There is only one. And this presence, this power permeates all of life, all of me, all of everything around me. And the world around me looks so solid and the same. But the truth is that I know that as this spirit is everywhere present, that life around me is moving and it's vibrating and it unfolds in ways that are greater and greater all the time as I recognize this presence in my life and in the world around me. That my thoughts, my beliefs, my expectations change the physical pattern of the world around me. So I claim for myself today absolute, perfect, vibrant health. That the cells in my body are absolutely rearranging themselves right here and right now as the expression of vibrancy, as the expression of perfect health. I know for myself divine inner peace, that this presence and this power brings a deep peace for me at my innermost level. I recognize and know that I live in a field of infinite possibilities, and that I recognize and see opportunities that come in my life to express vibrancy, to express love, to express peace, to express goodness of every kind. Excuse me. I am so grateful for this. I turn away from any idea that says I'm anything but this. I am grateful now. I release this treatment, knowing it is so, and so it is. Today, we welcome back to our center Reverend James Peak. He is currently the Director of IT at CSL Home Office. He has degrees in information management systems and a master's degree in consciousness studies from the Holmes Institute. He's joining us today from the foothills of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. Welcome back, Reverend James, to CSL Midtown.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Certainly an honor and a thrill to be with you once again this morning. So I look forward to the next 20 to 25 minutes as we dance around, look at this idea of peace. And as Judy mentioned, and how does that relate to the monthly theme of raising our voice? Well, I will be getting to that, I promise. It may not seem natural or an automatic link, but I've got some ideas on that too. So when I start thinking about peace, I kind of see it and think about it in three different realms. I hesitate to say three pieces because that's a really bad pun. But three different realms. We've got the external realm of peace within our immediate circles, our spheres of influence, if you will, our day-to-day lives, our friends, our family, maybe coworkers, the people we interact with on a daily basis. So that's one of the spheres of peace. Another is the greater world, of course, which for centuries or as long as humans have been on the planet seems to really have a challenge with this idea of peace. So we have a constant conflicts and violence and a real challenge in that greater world. But then, of course, there's also our inner world, our true beingness. And there's a realm there where peace is paramount to living in alignment with truth and really being able to raise our voice in a peaceful, kind way to help facilitate and affect a change in the world. And of course, it tends to be easier to be a facilitator or a conduit for peace externally if our internal world is peaceful and has a sense of calm and flow about it. But occasionally we do need to be honest and real with ourselves and speak our truth, again, in a kind way. But if we're having any kind of conflict internally, sometimes we do need to speak up. Now, this was the case for a friend of mine named Joe, who was having a lot of internal dialogue, and he was having some conflict internally, some mental suffering, if you will, even affecting his emotional body a little bit. And one night, Joe decided he was going to speak up, and he was going to speak his truth, not in a mean way, but just, kind of get it out there. And so he and his wife, Mary, were laying down, getting ready to fall asleep. And Joe said to Mary, "Sweetie, I just have a quick question for you. If my father hadn't left me $1 million, would you truly still love me?" And Mary looked at him and said, "Well, Joe, don't be silly. I'd love you regardless of who left you the $1 million." But on a more serious note, or more important note, it's one of the challenges as we walk this spiritual path, as we do our spiritual work and live our spirituality. There can be challenges in staying aligned. Doing true spiritual work is not for the weak of mind or the weak of heart. Now, Judy in her share alluded to this idea of, just going to denial or maybe doing a spiritual bypass. And we certainly can do that. If some difficulties or some challenges pop up in our world, we can certainly just, go to the default. Oh, it's all God. It's all good. I don't need to worry about that. I'll just live in my head. I'll detach from any potential emotion that I don't like. I'll just go through life, with totally thick rose-colored glasses. Everything's perfect. Everything's great. And while you can certainly do that, and you can choose to do that, if you don't want to feel anything that you don't like or think thoughts you don't like, you can just try to block everything out. But in my humble opinion, I think we're missing out on a lot of what it is to be human. This fascinating walk as spirit in this physical realm. And yes, there's going to be times we're going to have grief, or we're going to have sorrow, maybe some upset. Maybe we look back in our life with some regrets. But also that if we're not willing to feel, we don't feel the great joy, the great love that comes from this human family, this family of being spirit together, this idea of community. So there's a lot of ways that we can miss out in life if we're not willing to be present with it and really feel our feelings and recognize what's going on. And it takes true courage to continue on the spiritual path and doing our work, because we're constantly stepping into the unknown. We truly don't know what's coming. Now, our ego and some of our attitude might think we know what's going on. But if you really think about it, the fascination of billions of galaxies, all created from this one life, and yet this one life, some choose to call it God, universe, whatever, it doesn't diminish itself. It continues to create out of itself. And us in our physical human form, in our bodies, through our senses, we experience just an infinitesimal little bit of this life. So it's fascinating how much there is. So anytime we think we truly, truly are going to be all hotty-toddy about what we know, we may want to remind ourselves that we truly are seeing just a little glimmer. And yet, of course, within, deep within, there is that knowingness, that guidance, that sense of spirit that we experience in the present moment awareness. But it can be really challenging because as we go through this spiritual path, we're having to deal with magical thinking, not just the denial stuff, not just the spiritual bypass, but magical thinking, such as, I think the greatest spiritual fraud is this idea that, as soon as we wake up or become enlightened, life is just going to be perfect. It's all just going to be rainbows and ponies, no challenges. We'll just live in eternal bliss. And yet, all waking up really is unidentifying with the idea that we're separate. The idea that there's a me here and everybody else out there. But allowing that falsehood to fall away and just living in the present moment as spirit. But we're still in a body. We're still going to feel things. We're going to have emotions. If we're interacting with people, if we're not off living in a cave and we're living in society, we're going to have challenges. Folks around us are going to be going through their sorrow, people we care about. We're going to want to be there for them and support them. And of course, as we show up with empathy and compassion, we can certainly help facilitate more peace in those situations. But it's really a challenge. Now, I will tell you one thing that is not a fraud, and that's the promise of science of mind. Dr. Ernest Holmes said, principle is not bound by precedent. Now, it sounds a little technical. What it really means is the past has no power over the present moment except for what we give it. Because the principle of one life, one love, one universal mind, that we're beautiful, perfect incarnations of that spirit, that there's truly never any way we can be separate from it, for we are it. It's our perspective sometimes that tells us, we're separate, but we truly can't be. And so that promise, we can change our lives, and it goes way beyond just change our thinking, change our life. It's really changing our whole beingness. It's allowing a greater truth to be revealed. The challenge becomes when we continue to give the past power. That leads to false beliefs getting ingrained. It leads to suffering, mental suffering, emotional suffering. When we're unwilling to face it, to feel it and heal it, then it leads to suffering and challenges, which of course makes it really challenging to feel peace or to be peace in the world. And when I'm talking about wounding or being wounded and suffering, I'm not referring to severe abuse or violence in the world. And that's going on all the time, all around us. It's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to our own mental anguish, our own suffering from living in denial or not willing to look at something. The symptoms of, I'm going to call it the ego disease, but the symptoms start to show up. For example, we can become very scattered, frenzied. Our energy's all over the place. We're not sure what to do. We're certainly not feeling any guidance from or as spirit. We're just scattered all over the place. In our mind, we have a lot of chatter going on. Just constant repetitive thoughts. We just can't seem to get quiet. We may have a sense of aloneness. Our heart may be hurting. We may feel cut off from everybody. I've got to do it alone, but I can't do it alone. I don't know what I'm doing. And resistance can show up. I'm resisting life. I don't want to look at that. I'm going to go in denial about that one. I'm going to be pushing against things that I don't like. That resistance energy is really a challenging one because it's such a huge word and it's a huge thing in our world today, especially here in the US, right? Resist, resist, resist. And yet at a metaphysical level, resistance doesn't work. It's not the way life works. To create a process, we have an idea that drops into the law that shows up in form. The law says yes, it doesn't resist. Dr. Holmes in his Sermon by the Sea reminds us to be for something and against nothing. Now, it doesn't mean we have to like everything in the world, that we have to even support ideas that are harming people, causing challenges. But what we can be is using that positive, creative, aligned energy to be for the solution rather than against the problem. And some folks may say, not much of a difference. What I would offer is a huge difference. And you can feel it within yourself. If you're for an idea rather than pushing against something, it's two totally different experiences. So again, we have scattered energy, we have the chatter, the sense of being alone, and resistance. SCAR, scar. But when we don't do our healing work or we're not living in alignment, we're creating metaphorical scars in our experience and in our lives. So if we look at the world of healing, how do we prevent scarring? Well, one way to prevent scarring is by using a balm. That's BALM. Now, if you're a Seinfeld fan, you may remember the episode where Kramer gets a hot coffee and he pours it on himself and he gets burned severely and he's going to sue the coffee house and he's going to make a lot of money. And he's in pain for a couple of days and someone offers him a balm and he puts it on and it heals the balm. Now, of course, it kills his chances of a lawsuit. But the healing power of the balm is very, very, very powerful. And so when we look at balm, we'll start with B. So B is for balance. We can bring more balance to our life. It can help to heal those past beliefs and those past wounds. And what is balance really? We hear the word a lot, but it's really just about harmonizing our mind, body, and spirit. So they work together. So they're not working against each other. So we're in alignment. And it's also about our actions, right? So our mind, our body, our actions in the world are aligned. Now, there's a common misbelief about balance, which means you don't work too much, you don't play too much. And I don't buy into that personally, because there's times in life, for example, parents of a newborn, their life's going to be a little out of balance for a while, taking care of that young one. But that doesn't mean they need to be out of balance, mind, body, and spirit. And that's really what we're speaking about. Now, if I look at the A in balm, A is for acceptance. Kind of the other side of the coin of resistance. I'm willing to accept what is in life. It doesn't mean I have to like it. But it's really hard to facilitate change, whether it's my own internal change or take action in the world to make positive change, if I'm not willing to be in reality about what is. So if I accept what is and see it for what it is, especially if it's previous beliefs and issues from my past, then I have a shot at healing it, to bringing the light of truth onto it. But if I'm unwilling to look at it, I'm unwilling to accept what is showing up in my experience, and I can't really facilitate a healing, I'm certainly not going to experience peace. And it can be a real challenge because for some reason, as humans, so often we're addicted to our story. And we're usually not addicted to the story of the magnificence of spirit and the unlimited possibilities that spirit can show up in our lives. We're not open to the possibilities of physical healings or incredible manifestations. No, we tend to want to repeat the story of our limitations, of our victimhood, and our challenges. And this is where, really, if you're trapped in that mode, it really can be powerful to sit with somebody who can hear you and see you, care for you, love you in that moment, and know the truth for you. And of course, in this teaching, a powerful way to do that is to reach out to a practitioner and set up a guidance session with a practitioner. And they can sit with you and know that truth for you, treat for you. It's a powerful opportunity. And the L naturally is for love. And I'm not just talking about human love, because our human experience of love, our human heart, we can feel it open and closed. But really going to a deeper, more expansive place. This divine love, the spiritual heart that's not opened or closed, it just always is. It's like universal mind, universal intelligence just is. The creative process, the law, just are. They're just there. The spiritual heart is always present. And we may have trouble sensing that if our human experience of love in our heart is a lot of pain. But sometimes just sitting in the quiet, falling back a little deeper, we can sense that spiritual heart and start to become aware that, It's not God loves me, but I'm an expression of this universal love. Again, the God loves me is a separation. I'm here, God's there. But if I can go deep enough and start to sense that, oh, I am this love that I seek, it can create powerful shifts in our experience. And last but not least, M is for meditation and quiet, quieting the mind and going into meditation. And when I speak of meditation, I'm not speaking of a goal-oriented meditation. I'm going to go and I'm going to have 10 minutes of pure silence today. And then the chatter starts in the mind and we get all frustrated and I'm doing it wrong. But true meditation is just really going into meditation with no agenda, no goal, just allowing the silence, the silent awareness to be there, if possible. Just not, if thoughts come through, we're not attached to them, we're not trying to control them. They come and they go. They're like clouds in the sky. But just allowing for a true meditation. And as we start to have this type of meditation more frequently, our mind will naturally quiet and we'll find that peace within meditation. And the quiet also opens the door then to the spiritual guidance. Now, I have a story about when I was 14, as a junior high school student, and one summer, one of our teachers took 5 of us out to, we were in Michigan, took us out to Mount Whitney in California to hike Mount Whitney. We're going to do this grand hike. And we're in the first day of the hike, we're about halfway, 2/3 of the way up. And suddenly we're caught out of nowhere. And this is in July. We're caught in this blizzard, this giant snowstorm. And a couple of us had taken a different trail than everybody else. And the guy, I'll say kid because we were 14, the other kid was panicking. He, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I don't know why. I had no formal spiritual training or understanding, but I just had this sense that I just needed him to be quiet. And I said, just be quiet. Let me think. And I got quiet and I looked around and I actually stopped thinking. And in that, there was just a little pause between thoughts, a little gap. And I heard, and I think it may have been one of the earliest occurrences of spiritual guidance, but I heard a voice say, look for the river. Look for the river. Middle of a blizzard, snowstorm, look for the river. But I did. I started scanning the side of the mountain, the hill, and I saw a slight depression. And I thought, that must be the river. And so I said to my friend, I said, I'm going this way. I suggest you go with me. And we took that slight depression up the hill. And eventually I caught a little glimpse of an orange jacket going around the corner. And there's the main trail. And we worked our way to that and everything turned out fine. But it was a powerful example of what can happen in the quiet when we think there's no answer. There's no way out of this. I'm stuck. I can't do this. Just allowing the quiet to come, allowing that guidance to be there. We don't have to be special. We just need to be quiet and allow our intuitive guidance, our intuitive spiritual voice to be heard. So what happens when we apply the balm? What's the end result here? What are we looking for? So we're going to apply the balm before we scar, so healing is going to occur. So what are some of the results of that? Well, one is that as we become more healthy, less healed, less wounded, living more in alignment with truth, we just naturally show up more as our true nature. And our true nature is just this expressing as spirit in our form, in our human experience, as divine and wild as that can be sometimes. We also start to have less wounding because we're taking things as they come. Almost like, the metaphorical duck with the water going over the back. We're just not attached to things as much. Now, I like to say it's really hard to take something personal if you're not identified as a person. And sometimes I get people looking at me like a dog, huh? But if I'm identified or really sensing that I'm spirit, and I'm more than just this idea of a person, this idea of a separate self, then as things occur in my life, there will be less frequency, less tendency to take things personal and have them stick to me and have the potential to create a wound where then if I forget the bomb, I end up with a scar. We tend to move in a different way. Just understanding that, people are wounded. Other people are wounded. They're going to say things and do things out of that fear, out of that lack of love that's going to show up in our lives. So if we can stand in that truth, in the eye of the storm, where I'm the calm, regardless of the storm that's around me, I can respond in a way that's more kind and loving, not only to others, but to my own sense of being. And ultimately, what happens then is we start to reflect this truth in all of our lives, all of our activities, our relationships shift. It's not that we have to work to show up as peace. We are peaceful. And at some level, everyone senses that, since we are one life, one mind, one heart. There's an intuitive knowingness that even if it's unconscious, everyone we meet, when we show up as peace, we show up as divine love, we show up as the presence. We just really become that walking, talking, loving prayer of peace on earth. And so the invitation this week is notice where you might be creating a scar, where you might be a little scattered, have a little chatter going on, have a sense of aloneness, resisting life. And remember to apply some balm. And ultimately, just know that you are the peace that God is. Namaste.
Thanks for that wonderful talk, Reverend James. Awesome.
You're welcome.
So now I'm going to go into our new minister covenant or sacred covenant easy prayer, which you all can download from the website, cslmidtown.org. Scroll down and get that. And if you can, you would read with me. There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. And knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all that is blessed of its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to express spirit, I therefore know that my new minister is a revelation of spirit as principle. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which has been promised by God, for it is written, principle is not bound by precedent. It operates according to law, and is always available to those who are willing to align themselves with it. As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister before me as inspiring spiritual oneness through wisdom, love, and authenticity. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself. For I am inspired to live as love in the expression of principle. I am awakening the wisdom within me by clearly communicating the principles of universal truth. I am a conduit of divine love, wisdom, and healing energy, recognizing the inherent wholeness within all beings. I am offering teachings, classes, and mystical studies grounded in spiritual principles to cultivate inner wisdom, personal transformation, and empowered living. I am extending the love, compassion, and transformative power of spirit into the wider community, fostering connections that heal, uplift, and support individuals in their unique journeys. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they will be revealed in a way that will express the spirit and serve the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful God is gracious, and so it is. All right. So, like I said, that's available on the website. You can download that. There's a couple of places you can put your own personal things in there as well. And yeah, on to our creative giving. And in order to get this new minister, we're going to need donations from you, and you've been sustaining us. For all of you have been with us for quite some time, and we need to expand that consciousness into that, bringing this new minister into place. So if you would with me say our affirmation of prosperity. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. So you can donate at cslmidtown.org/donate, or scan the QR code that's on the screen. And we appreciate all your donations, one-time or ongoing givings. Thank you. And now for some announcements. We've got, well, that's got old stuff on it. We have next week, new minister, Reverend Kit Holmes. And Kit is a musician as well as a minister. So she's going to do her own music for the service. Should be very interesting. And we appreciate that. So before the service at 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings, there's a study group. They're going through the Science of Mind textbook, that huge textbook that we study from. And you don't have to have read that week's session to come join. You can go to the cslmidtown.org page, scroll down to the Zoom link. It will take you right there with the passcode to get you into the talk or the discussion group for that. And right after this now, we're going to have a discussion with Reverend James Peak on that same Zoom channel. So if you're on another medium, you can join us there. If you're already there, welcome. Stay on, have a discussion with Reverend James. And now let's do our affirmation of life. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding, and I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me. And so it is. Have a great week, everybody.